I'm not gonna lie with y'all, the past week there have been a lot of news coming out about the NBA, especially with obviously with the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA Cup last night against Oklahoma City Thunder, but also just some trade rumors. And in this video I'm gonna break down everything you need to know in case one of these trade rumors actually does come true. And if you guys like these type of videos, make sure you guys leave a like and make sure you guys subscribe if you're new. And it really does help the channel, and if you guys do subscribe, you also are going to be able to stay in the know about everything NBA, and whenever I do stream the NFL, that as well. So let's get it started here, and let's go ahead and talk about the NBA Cup final game between the Thunder and Bucks last night, where we did see the Bucks win, where Giannis Antetokounmpo led the charge, winning the MVP with 26 points, 19 rebounds, and 10 assists, a triple-double. That's absolutely insane. But this victory honestly isn't just about adding that trophy to their collection. It's also a statement that the Bucks can really play with anyone in the entire association, right? If you're looking at the Thunder, most people have them as number one in the Western Conference, and even if you don't have them number one, you're definitely at least number two or number three, right? And I mean, I think right now the Western Conference is definitely more competitive than the Eastern Conference in terms of where teams are seated. So I mean, I think that this is definitely a big statement game for the Bucks. And on top of that, I feel like Damian Lillard also proved, that he can be a very viable second option for this Bucks team if they want to win games. I really enjoyed watching last night how they were able to get him involved in the game, and not only with Damian Lillard, but I also really enjoyed watching how they were able to lock down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, someone who 9 of the last 10 games have been scoring above 30 points. In the game last night, he shot 8 for 24 with only 21 points, and that is something that is nearly unheard of for someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like one of the leading scorers in the entire association, right? So I mean, with this kind of chemistry building on the defensive side of the court, I mean, I don't think the Bucks are clearly the favorites to win the championship now, obviously, but I do think that they have the potential to rise back up to those, preseason talks where they were in that top tier contenders for the Eastern Conference. I think they kind of fell out of that, obviously, with, their depressing start, but ever since, we've really seen them get, a lot more momentum, and I think that they've been playing a lot better, right? And I think that winning the NBA Cup really does prove that they are still able to win with the big light shining upon them. Going back to their season stats, right now, they're actually 14-11, 5th in the East right now. Offensively, we're looking at a 114.5 rating, which is 11th in the league. Defensively, they're at 113.1, which is 13th in the league. Overall net rating at 1.4, which is in the middle of the pack. And I mean, this really just suggests that the Bucks are a very solid team, but there's definitely still a lot of improvement if they want to dominate this league. All right, now let's get into some of the interesting stuff here with the trade rumors, starting out big here with Jimmy Butler, who has been at the center of some very hot debates. A recent report from Shams Charania suggested that the Heat might consider parting ways with Butler last week, which sparked interest from teams like the Suns and the Warriors. However, literally a couple days after that, Butler's agent denied these claims on Twitter, claiming that the rumors were baseless speculation. And according to Hoops Rumor, the agent clarified that Butler remains fully locked to the Miami Heat, and there are no discussions about a trade at this time. But something that really stews the pot here is that yesterday's interview, Shams Charania was on Pat McAfee's show, right? And if you guys didn't know, Pat McAfee was a lobbyist for Shams Charania to get the job at ESPN after Woj stepped down, right? And Shams actually doubled down on the show, basically saying that there are indeed possible outcomes where we could see Jimmy Butler get traded. So I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't think anyone knows what's gonna happen. He could get traded. It always feels like the Heat are either looking to trade for someone or they're gonna trade Jimmy Butler. Right now we're at that trade for Jimmy Butler era. And I mean, I think it's also worthy noting why this is, sparking interest in the first place. It's really because the Heat's inconsistent start to their season and their struggles to be top contenders in the Eastern Conference, which is really raising questions about their future. And I think a lot of people are wondering if the front office is currently quietly exploring options for Jimmy Butler. And I think that this is definitely for sure, especially when someone like the Suns, who we mentioned are interested, might see Jimmy Butler as the final piece to their puzzle, which it definitely does make sense. But a trade of this magnitude would be incredibly complicated given Butler's contract and Miami's high asking price for the 36-year-old forward, right? And I mean, looking at the stats, this just further shows why the Heat might trade him, right? Right now they're 13-11, which is 6th in the East, not horrible. Their offensive and defensive ratings are at 114.7, 111.6 respectively, which are both 10th in league, which are definitely pretty solid. Their net rating is plus 3.1, suggests they're competitive, but not dominant. And I mean, this really shows why they could be considering potential moves to stay more competent in the long run instead of right now in the short run. All right, speaking of the Suns, let's go ahead and move into Bradley Beal. His tenure in Phoenix hasn't been smooth sailing at all. He's had a ton of injuries, and right now Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are currently carrying much of the load. And some analysts are really questioning whether Bradley Beal is truly the right fit for this roster. According to the Big League, some insiders believe the Suns should consider trading Beal for a win-now player such as Jimmy Butler, like we just talked about. Looking at the window of someone like Kevin Durant, this could definitely be a potential move for the Suns, right? Jimmy Jimmy Butler at 36. Kevin Durant, I believe, is 35. So very similar windows right now when you look at Bradley Beal, who I believe is 30. And so this could definitely be something that the Heat are looking to do. Like we said, if they want to be more long-term, Bradley Beal's 30. You're probably going to get a solid 3-4 more years out of him. And on top of that, Jimmy Butler needs to get paid soon, right? And so the only challenge about this with Bradley Beal is his no trade clause. Obviously, any deal would require his approval. And while the idea of reuniting with his former college coach Billy Donovan on the Bulls has floated around a little bit, it seems very unlikely that he would go somewhere that's not a contender. And I mean, on the flip side, if the Suns pull the trigger on this hypothetical swap, it could completely reshape the Western Conference no matter who they get. The pressure is really on the Suns to make the most out of their championship window. And right now, if I'm honestly the Suns, I'm definitely trading Bradley Beal and you know, some picks to try to get Jimmy Butler, because why wouldn't you try to win now with Kevin Durant? On top of that, looking at the Suns stats here, they're currently 14-11, which is 6th in the West. Offensively, they boast an impressive 116.1 offensive rating, which is currently 8th in the NBA, but their defensive rating sucks, 116.3, which is 23rd, and they're actually at a negative net rating of negative 0.2, which means they're barely breaking even overall, and that might fuel their urgency to make these roster changes. And honestly, if the Suns could pick up someone like Jimmy Butler, this would be perfect for their defensive rating due to the amount of effort and intensity Butler provides on that side of the floor. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about Zach LaVine. Right now, the Bulls are currently open to moving LaVine as they look to reshape their roster, obviously. LaVine's scoring ability makes him a hot commodity, but his massive contract and injury history might be, you know, a little bit questionable to some teams. According to Clutch Points, the Denver Nuggets have emerged as a dark horse in the LaVine sweepstakes. And I mean, literally just today, I've seen probably about like 100 reports on LaVine to the Nuggets. And it definitely, you know, would make a lot of sense here. That would help their scoring, right? And obviously this would help their depth with, you know, Nikola Jokic, and obviously Jamal Murray's not having a great year. The only way they could do this, however, is if they trade someone like Michael Porter Jr. and another player like Najee Marshall potentially to make the contract situation work out. But I mean, if you're the Nuggets and you want to win now with Jokic, with Jamal Murray, who you know is going to be pretty solid in the playoffs, why not get Zach LaVine to be that secondary scorer, right? I know he gets paid a lot. I know that he has a very big injury history, but I think right now we're looking at the comparison of Michael Porter Jr. to Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine's probably the better fit long-term than Michael Porter Jr. is right now. For the Bulls, there's a really big question on if they settle for future assets or do they push for players who can make an immediate impact. LaVine suitors will need to weigh the risk to reward balance carefully. For Denver, this could solidify their championship contention for years, but it's not without risk given LaVine's durability concerns, obviously, and his contract. And lastly, before we end this video, let's go ahead and circle back to Jimmy Butler for a moment. There's another layer to this story. According to SI's report, some league insiders believe Miami's willingness to trade Butler might stem from their long-term vision, like we talked about. So, I mean, if Miami does decide to pull the trigger, the Suns are 100% the most aggressive suitor. With Durant, Booker, Butler, those would be a three-headed monster that would be feared by the entire association. And I mean, the only big question mark for them would obviously be availability. As you guys know, the best ability is availability, right? And with the Suns team, Durant, Booker, Butler, if they're all three on the same team, we all know that they are pretty injury prone. And I mean, I think that the Heat would really accept the package here with a ton of picks like we talked about. And I mean, if they can get Bradley Beal, I think that would be good. I mean, they would have to, considering the contract negotiations that Jimmy Butler has right now. And I think that this is definitely a management question. You know, if the Heat decide to move on from Butler, I would not be shocked if they want a bundle of picks and they want Bradley Beal just so that they can get younger. So, I mean, all in all, one thing is clear. Trade season is definitely shaping up to be wild. Whether it's going to be Butler, Beal, or LaVine, or even all three of them, any move involving these players could drastically shift the league's landscape and just honestly, who's going to win the NBA championship once we get to All-Star break. All right, y'all, we have reached the end of the video. I really do appreciate you guys for sticking around and watching it all the way throughout. If you guys liked it, make sure you guys leave a like. Make sure you guys subscribe to stay in the know about everything basketball and football. And yeah, I really do appreciate you guys for watching it. Like I said, if you guys think that the Bucks are going to be a top tier contender now after this NBA Cup and they're not going to, you know, see what happened with the Lakers last year, leave your comments down below. I want to see your opinions. And if you guys think that these trade rumors are going to actually come true, let me know down below as well. I really want to see what you guys think. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. And yep, I hope you guys have a great holiday season.